This is a video on disassembly and repair of a headlight switch. This is off of my 1961 Chevy Impala. As you all know, on the bottom of this, the aluminum piece here is that button. You push that button and you pull this rod straight out of the switch, and you got to monkey around with it a little bit, but it eventually comes out. Well, the problem is getting it back in. A lot of people give up on these things and throw them away. This part here is the culprit. And if you can see, you see that shape in there. And then this part here goes into that shape. And once that springs down, you're locked. When the button is pushed up, you can get that out of there. You see that shape? And then you see on the collar, the indentation. So when you depress the button, it pushes this steel piece up and you can pull this out. The button is inside, mechanism is inside this piece here. I took this switch apart. These two brass or copper, they slide across these pieces here. The problem really is in the middle is this plastic button there and this spring. So my 61 Impala is 60 years old, and guess what? That spring has taken a set that no longer gives me enough spring action. This goes in here, and then that piece here goes in there. So it all fits together like that. But like I said, the problem is over 60 years, that spring is kind of given up and is not providing enough force to move that. I'm trying to do this with one hand. You can see that shape again right there. So when you put this back together, this surface here is writing on this. The button is pushing on this piece. The opposite side is writing on those contacts. So you can take this thing apart. I've done it and put it back together. I'm trying to do this with one hand now to show this video. This piece here is the rheostat, and that gets pushed in this end here. Once that's pushed in, then you can put this, hopefully so you can see this. You put this back on. I can't do this with this camera. But anyway, it goes in like this. Goes in this way, and this piece goes on the bottom, snaps onto those things. Once you get this thing that's the locking mechanism. Once you get that pin and that spring, this spring is your problem. So what I did is I took it out, grabbed it at both ends, pulled on it, pull on it again. And now, maybe it looks like it did 60 years ago. Anyway, it's a little bit of a hassle, but I cleaned all the contacts on the inside here, put some conductive grease on them, clean the contacts on this piece here, clean the contacts on the rheostat on the front. And when I put this back together, this piece here goes on makes contact with the rheostat. When I put this all back together and slide this into the switch, it works like brand new. So if this shaft isn't going in and relocking, it's this spring. It's not going to start working if you wiggle it around, if you hit it with a hammer. Nothing's going to make that thing work until you pull it apart, like I have. Pull that spring out and stretch the spring, give it some new life, and then put it back together. And like I said, that locking point is, I'm trying to get it on the paper. I don't know if you can see it. A little bit oblong at the top. When that goes in there, it goes like that, and that's what locks it. It goes like this, rather. That's what locks it. If your spring is weak, it's not gonna pull that thing back. So, anyway, hopefully this came across pretty good. Again, this is a headlight switch for early Chevy. That's a 61 Chevy Impala. All the early Chevys use this type of thing. Like I said, when you take it apart, these parts are going to kind of jump out at you. So just, be ready to catch everything. But that's your bad guy right there. And then this little button there rides on it, and it goes right down the middle of this thing. Anyway, I just thought I'd take it apart, try to figure out what's going on. I got mine fixed. When I put mine back together 2 or 3 times, works fine. Yours isn't going to work until you get that spring fixed. As soon as you stretch that spring out, give more force on this thing, it's going to give more force to this thing, and then when you stick that in there, it's going to snap in really easy. Anyway, good luck.